here that in ancient days, all non-living things also, they considered them to have some kind of life. Just like all living beings have certain kind of salvation, moksha sthiti. Likewise, all non-living things also were considered to have some kind of moksha sthiti. So after certain, they were under some curse. After certain years, all these non-living things also, they were redeemed from the curse. Again in the Ramayana, we have one more episode of Lord Hanuman, wherein he has inscribed all these stones, writing the name of Rama. So writing the name of Rama, all these Vandras, they used to put the borders on the ocean, and it is said that in the Yuddha Kanda, all these stones used to float. So many scholars, they regard that how can such big borders, they could float on the sea, so as to form the Ram-Sethu. So while forming the Ram-Sethu, there is one more information which I would like to suggest, that Vandras, they brought such kind of stones from certain kind of places which is mentioned in the Yuddha Kanda. So such geology, if you studied actually, it was observed that many of these rocks and stones, they had some porous kind of quality. So since the rocks, they had some porous quality, they could float on the water. So the next slide actually it indicates how the Ram-Sethu, they have in Rameshwaram, there are many kinds of such stones where you see that some stones weighing up almost about 10 to 12 kilos. So all these things, still even you can go to Rameshwaram and see these kind of stones which can float on the water. So it has been almost documented by many scholars. So even Dr. Kalyan Raman and different scholars, they have experimented on these stones. So these stones, though they are of very high weight, still they can float on the ocean waters. So coming to the next slide. In Puranas also, right from Vedic literature, we have the origin of stones as well as it continues up to the epic literature. If you come to the Puranic texts, we have one more myth or origin of stones. So the Garuda Purana, it speaks about one duel between the Devas as well as there was an Asura or a demon called as Balasura. So Balasura and Indra, while they were fighting, it is said in the Garuda Purana that different parts of Balasura, it fell in different parts of the globe, and all his body, wherever it fell different parts, all these different parts, it became different kinds of sources. So though it may have a mythical origin, there may be some other scientific aspect to this concept of Balasura also, which scholars need to research. So it is said that Balasura's bones, they became diamonds, and the blood became rubies, as well as oil became emeralds, and eyes became Indranila. So all these Navaratnas and all these different kind of precious stones what we find inside the earth, all these have a divine origin. So all these Ratna Shastra tricks, different kinds of Ratna Shastra texts, whatever they are available, they deal on this mythical origin of all these precious stones. And I would like to draw an attention to one more scholar in Italy. So in 15th century, there was a scholar in Italy named as Leonardus Camillus. So that scholar, he has written a book called as Speculum Lapidum. So that Speculum Lapidum also, it deals on different kinds of precious stones, where he says that 3 influences must cooperate to bring a stone into existence. So if a stone has to come into existence within the earth, ಭೂಮಿಯೊಳಗಡೆ ಒಂದು ಕಲ್ಲು ಸೃಷ್ಟಿ ಆಗಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ 3 ಕಾರಣಗಳಿದೆ. ಸೊ ಆ 3 ಕಾರಣಗಳು ಏನಿದೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ, one is the power of the creator. So unless there is the power of the creator, certain kind of stones cannot originate within the earth. One more influence is, he says that planets and constellations also provide their radiations, which these radiations, when they radiate inside the earth, you have the formation of stones. So it is very interesting to know that a scholar from Italy, he speaks about all these different types of sources by which stones are formed inside the earth. So ಈ ಕಲ್ಲುಗಳು ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಆಗಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಸುಮಾರು ಸಹಸ್ರ ವರ್ಷಗಳು ತಗೊಳುತ್ತೆ. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ದೈವಿ ಪ್ರೇರಣೆ ಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಸೊ ಈ ದೈವಿ ಪ್ರೇರಣೆ, ಆಮೇಲೆ ಗ್ರಹ ನಕ್ಷತ್ರಗಳ ಪ್ರಭಾವ ಇದ್ರೆ ಮಾತ್ರ ಕೆಲವೊಂದು ಕಲ್ಲುಗಳು ಈ ತರ ಸೃಷ್ಟಿಯಾಗತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ. ಲೈಕ್ವೈಸ್ to the Puranic texts, we have next slide. We have another kind of stone which is worshipped in almost all households, and these stones are called as salagramas. So salagramas, they come in different kinds of varieties. So though it may be regarded as a stone, it is worshipped as an emblem of Lord Vishnu. So in almost all the different texts you have different types of salagramas which are discussed, and especially the Sri Tattva Nidhi. Sri Tattva Nidhi is a text written by Krishnaraja Wadeyar of Mysore, Mummadi Krishnaraja Wadeyar of Mysore, and one more text known as the Narasimha Purana. Narasimha Purana, as well as the Salagrama Pariksha. There is one more text called as the Salagrama Pariksha, written by King Anup Singh of Bikaner. So Salagrama Pariksha of King Anup Singh of Bikaner, he also deals about different kinds of salagramas. For example, the Narasimha Purana, it states that there are different types of salagramas, and it gives the different colors of the salagramas as well as. For example, you have white, black, red, and different kinds of salagramas which are stated in the text. One more thing I would like to draw your attention is that all these different kinds of salagramas, they were considered to be emblems of Vishnu. So different types of salagramas are available. For example, you have the Dasha Avataras of Lord Vishnu, and based on these Dasha Avataras, there are different types of salagramas. For example, you have the Matsya Salagrama, Kurma Salagrama, and Varaha Salagrama, and different types of salagramas, and the characteristics of these salagramas are also discussed in the Puranas. So all the Puranas, different Padma Purana, for example, the Vishnu Dharmottara Purana, and all these Puranas, they discuss about the lakshanas or characteristics of different types of these salagramas. Apart from these Dashavatara salagramas, you have also the 24 names of Lord Vishnu, namely Keshava, Madhava, Madhusudana, and all that. So based on them also you have the Keshava Salagrama, Madhava Salagrama, and all these different types of salagramas. You can just go to the next slide. Next slide. So here you can just have a picture of all these different types of salagramas. You have the Matsya Salagramas, Kurma Salagramas, Varaha Salagramas, and different salagramas. And you can just see the peculiarity of each kind of stone. So how it has been created, we don't know. So in nature, we have the formation of all these different kinds of salagramas. It is a marvel to understand that these different salagramas, they are maybe, it has some kind of divine origin, and therefore our ancestors, they have given the lakshanas of all these salagramas. Next slide. So up to Kalki, you have all the different kinds of salagramas available here. Similar to the salagrama stones, if you go to the banks of river Narmada, so banks of river Narmada also you have these Udbhavalingas. Udbhavalingas, or they are also called as the Banalingas. So the Banalinga stones, so they are generally, they are considered to be emblems of Lord Shiva, and even in the Banalingas also you have different varieties of Banalinga. So it is really amazing to know that how it has some kind of divine origin, and you have specific kind of stones which are found in the earth. It is due to maybe the creator's will. Next slide. So here you can have the picture of all the different kinds of Banalingas. So Narmada Nadi Tatadali, you have all these different kinds of Banalingas, and you have Swayambhu, Mrityunjaya, and all these different kinds of Banalingas which are illustrated. All these Shaivagamas, they also deal about different types of these Banalingas. One more interesting aspect of these stones is that if you go to certain stone sculptures, certain temples, while they were making these idols, you had the formation of certain cavities. So, in the Belur temple, Chennakeshava temple, which exists in Belur, so there was an incident by a famous sculptor known as Jaganacharya. So Jaganacharya was a famous sculptor, and he was saying that whatever idol he has prepared, whatever idol he has discussed, so the entire idol was perfect. But his son actually, Dankanacharya, he proved that no, it was not correct, and he proved that there was a frog in the belly deity of Vishnu idol. Next slide. Similarly, if you come to the Brihadishwara temple in Tanjavur also, the Rajaraja Chola, when he used to come to inspect this big Nandi idol, inside the Nandi idol, a sculptor told him that there was a frog which caused the entire Nandi idol to grow. So, though this incident has not been documented in various legends, you have this mention of different kinds of creatures which are found in the cavities of certain idols, and the Shivatattva Ratnakara. Next slide. The Shivatattva Ratnakara of Keradi Baswaraja. So, this is a text which is written in Karnataka. So, Keradi Baswaraja in the 12th century, he wrote Shivatattva Ratnakara, wherein he discusses about the color of those circular cavities. So, different kinds of cavities are found in different stones. So, there he mentions that based on the color of this cavity, you can identify the various creatures. For example, Manjishta Abha, if it is there, it is a Dardura or a frog. Likewise, Pita Abha, if it is there, it is a Godha or a chameleon. So, based on these different cavities of the colors, you can identify the creatures. So, the Shilpa Shastras also indicate that if a creature is found in certain kind of stones, it is considered to be a dosha, and therefore certain calamities can be caused. So, I have just documented the calamities which based on the different types of creatures which are found in the stone cavities. Next. Coming to the Agama texts, if you come to the Vaishnava Agamas, you have the Pantaratra as well as the Vaikhanasa Agamas. So, the Agamas also give different classifications of stones. So, these texts, for example, the Purushottama Samhita as well as the Markandeya Samhita. So, Markandeya Samhita is a Vaikhanasa Agama text. So, that text, it classifies the stones as Varuni, Mahindri, Agneyi and Vajavi based on the place of selection. So, based on the place of selection, they have classified the different kinds of stones. So, this is also attested by the Purushottama Samhita. So, Purushottama Samhita also gives one more classification wherein the stones are classified as Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shudra based on the different colors of the stones. So, based on the colors of the stones, they have classified the different kinds of stones. Likewise, you have the Ishvara Samhita, Kapintara Samhita and the Vishnu Samhita. They also give the classification of stones. So, one more classification in the ancient stones sciences, they classify the stones based on their sex. So, you have the Pumshila, Strishila as well as the Napumsakashila. So, the male, female as well as the neuter kind of stones, and they give the characteristics of all these different kinds of stones. For example, the Padma Samhita, it gives the characteristics of all these different sexes of stones, and it also gives some recipes in order to test whether the stone has any Garbha dosha. So, in many stones, just like we have in normal human beings, you have the Garbha dosha and Garbha Lakshana. Similarly, our ancients, they prescribed that even stones have certain defects in them, and all these defects could be found out easily, wherein they mention different kind of recipes to find out them. So, here is one of the recipes given in the Padma Samhita, which states that you have to take the butter of buffalo milk as well as the powder of the sheep's goat's horn, as well as mix all these things in breast milk. And after you apply this on the stone, you can find out the defects in all these stones. Next. Naradiya Samhita. So there is one more Pancharatra Agama text called as the Naradiya Samhita. So this Naradiya Samhita also, it defines about the different kinds of sexes in the stones. And one more interesting aspect is that in our ancient literature we have the Garbha Lakshana formation of impregnation of stones, which is mentioned also in the Naradiya Samhita. In order to find out whether a stone is impregnated, they have given this kind of recipe. One more, next question. So the post-Vedic texts also, they give different recipes on all these different types of stones based on the sounds. So based on the sounds also, they have classified the various kind of stones. Next slide. And there is a text which is in Kannada, which is available in only manuscript form, written by Ratta. So Ratta is a Jain author. So he has written a text called as Jalashilpi, wherein he gives different kinds of methods by which you can soften rocks and stones. So stones and rocks can be softened by means of certain plants. So that was also known to the South American tribes. So South American tribes, they could identify different kinds of these stones. Next. So Brihat Samhita. So Brihat Samhita of Varahamira, dated to almost 6th century also. There also you have these different methods of breaking these stones and rocks, which are given elaborately. One more very interesting aspect is that he mentions about Bhumi Amalaki. So Bhumi Amalaki was a kind of plant which was used to soften or break all these different kind of stones. Next. So I would just like to end by this last quote. You have Maharshi Bharadwaja. So Maharshi Bharadwaja, he has written a treatise called as Ratna Pradipika. So in this Ratna Pradipika, what interesting detail we find is that he mentions about almost 3,118 varieties of stones. Though some of these stones are not narrated, it says that Shastras have determined that there are 3,118 types of stones, of which only 338 were different kinds of Spatika stones. So by this we can come to know that our Shastras were very well versed in different kinds of stones, and they could also classify and identify these kind of stones. Next. So I would like to conclude that different kind of stones are available in nature. They are classified, as well as the lakshanas of all these stones are also given in the various texts. What is even more interesting that there may be some kind of boulders on some kinds of hills. So ಯಾವುದೋ ಗಿರಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಅಥವಾ ಪರ್ವತದಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವುದೋ ಒಂದು ಕಲ್ಲಿರುತ್ತೆ, ಆ ಕಲ್ಲನ್ನ ನಾವು ಅಲ್ಲಿಂದ ತಗೊಂಡು ಬಂದು ದೇವಸ್ಥಾನದಲ್ಲಿ ಇಟ್ಟರೆ it gets the aspect of worshipping these kind of stones. So in order to bring the stone from that hill or parvata to the temple also, there were certain procedures in the Agama text wherein it says that you have to worship those places, also seek the permission of those deities. So all those deities you have to specify there on the mountain, and after that you have to bring the Shila to the temple, and only after it undergoes 48 days test. So after the idol undergoes 48 days of Adhivasa, then only it can be installed in a temple. So this kind of science of stones was very well known to our ancients. So with this I would like to thank the
Hello. Markandeya Samhita is not a Vaikhana Samhita. I think it is Marich Samhita. No, it means Imanarjan Kalpa. In the Vaikhana text,
science of stones in ancient Indian literature. Not only the science of stones in ancient Indian literature and culture. So the topic is so I am actually speaking about the science of stones in ancient Indian literature. So in ancient Indian science, we have one branch called as geology. So geology has been studied from ancient times. So in Greece, so if you come to the early history of geology, so early Greek sources, so in Greece they had studied about stones. So these stones were found inside the earth. So in Greece there were several authors who had written about certain stones, and one of the Greek sources are Aristotle's Meteorologica. And Theophrastus was another writer who wrote about stones. So he wrote an entire work concerning about stones. Likewise, in Pliny's work also we have much information about stones. So while dealing about all these stones, there was one more writer. So his name is Agricola. So Agricola is called as the father of meteorology. Next. director V. Shantaram. So that film was called as Geet Gaya Patthar only. So he has spoken entirely about the life story of a sculptor, and wherein they have given the entire story about a sculptor, how he makes an entire stone idol. So in that one you have the first song of the title song of the film, which says that Geet Gaya Patthar only. So different types of stones are singing the songs, because stones are believed to produce different types of sounds. So while striking the stones, he has dealt about the entire kind of songs in that film. Next slide. So here you can just see that Greek sources like Aristotle's Meteorologica and Theophrastus' work, he wrote about stones. And Theophrastus' work, he has dealt entirely about different kinds of stones, their varieties, how they are originated and all those things. After that, there was one more Greek author called as Agricola. So Agricola, what he has done is, he was called as the father of mineralogy. So father of mineralogy. So he has also written a work wherein he quotes almost previous 28 authors. Almost 28 authors who have written only on stones. So in Greek sources itself, we have these ancient works on stones. There may be precious stones as well as ordinary stones. So all these works are found in Greek libraries, and almost some of them are already lost. Only fragments of these works exist. When we come to the Vedic literature also has large information about stones. So early Vedic texts like the Rig Veda, it mentions that the earth is actually the father and mother of all of us. So Yava Prithivibhyam Swaha they say. In all the Homa mantras we have Yava Prithivibhyam Swaha. So wherein the sky is called as the father and the earth is called as the mother. So therefore from ancient times we had this concept of the earth being considered as the mother. Atharva Veda Samhita also discusses about earth as a cow which has been milked. So they call the earth to be they regard the earth to be a cow which can be milked for different types of sources, from which you can take all the kinds of vegetations as well as different resources from the earth. If you come to the early concept of how stones originated, so ಕಲ್ಲುಗಳು ಹೇಗೆ ಉತ್ಪತ್ತಿ ಆಯಿತು ಅಂತ ನಾವು ಕನ್ಸಿಡರ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ, ಪ್ರಾಚೀನ ಶಾಸ್ತ್ರದಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ ಅಂದರೆ, ಫಾರ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ ಯು ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ದಿ ಮೈತ್ರಾಯಣಿ ಸಂಹಿತ. ಸೊ ಮೈತ್ರಾಯಣಿ ಸಂಹಿತ, it states that stones originated by the fight between Indra and Vritrasura. So Indra and Vritrasura, from their fight, we had the origination of all these stones. So the Taittiriya Samhita also, it quotes a similar verse. So backing up the Maitrayani Samhita, even the Taittiriya Samhita, it states that Indro Vritraya Vajram Praharat Satreda Yabhavat Spyastrutiyam Ratastritiyam Yopastritiyam Ye Antaha Shara Ashiryanta Ta Shakara Abhavan. So Taittiriya Samhita also states that due to the event of Indra and Vritra, all these different kinds of stones were produced. So next slide. If you come to the Shatapada Brahmana, so just like in the Veda Samhitas, we have the origination of all these kinds of stones. So Veda Samhitanallo, ಈ ಕಲ್ಲುಗಳ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಹೇಗೆ ಉತ್ಪತ್ತಿ ಆಗಿದೆ ಅಂತ ಪೂರ್ತಿ ವಿವರಣೆ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಸೊ ಋಗ್ವೇದ ಸಂಹಿತ, ಯಜುರ್ವೇದ ಸಂಹಿತ ಎಲ್ಲ ಆದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಮೈತ್ರಾಯಣ ಸಂಹಿತ, ತೈತ್ರಿಯ ಸಂಹಿತ ಏನ್ ಹೇಳುತ್ತೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ, ಪೂರ್ತಿ ಈ ಇಂದ್ರ ಮೇಲ್ ವೃತ್ರಾಸುರ ವಧೆಯಿಂದ ಕಲ್ಲುಗಳೆಲ್ಲ ಉತ್ಪತ್ತಿ ಆಯಿತು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಇಫ್ ಯು ಕಮ್ ಟು ದಿ ಶತಪಥ ಬ್ರಾಹ್ಮಣ, the Shatapada Brahmana has very interesting details about the origination of all these kinds of stones. So there it says that there were 9 stages in the formation of earth. So earth was formed in 9 different stages, and it quotes these different 9 stages, stating that Sashranta Stepanaha Phenam Asrata Sashranta Stepano Mridam Shushkapa Usha Sikadam Sharkaram Ashmanam Ayo Hiranyam Oshadi Vanaspati Asritata. So the 9 stages are spoken as Phena, Mrid, Shushkapa, Usha, Sikata, Sharkara and Ashman. So all these 9 stages are spoken in the Shatapada Brahmana. So Shatapada Brahmana also it